Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Hey Laker fans, do you know a friend or neighbor that volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield? We would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28, 2023. Go to michiganweek.org for details.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com. Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield Live Update Show.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you. Let's begin with what's making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page. Our top story comes from Mike Wilkinson at Bridge, Michigan, and their coronavirus tracker. Michigan this week confirmed a 9% rise in COVID-19 cases, up to 11,074 in the past 7 days. This marks the 5th consecutive week of rising COVID-19 cases in the Great Lakes state, that according to reports from the MDHHS on Tuesday. Additionally, this week, Michigan saw 100 COVID-19 related deaths, that number down from 147 over the previous week. On Monday, 1,375 people in Michigan were hospitalized with COVID-19. That's the highest number of hospitalizations at any one given time since February 23rd of this year. All that being said, Michigan currently has only 2 of its 83 counties in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's high-risk category, with stronger suggestions now to wear a mask in public regardless of health or vaccination status in those 2 counties, that being Dickinson and Menominee counties. A week ago, 3 counties were in this category, with Schoolcraft County dropping out of the CDC's high-risk category this week. Also making headlines today on our local news page from Kayla Rubel and Anna Liz Nichols at the Detroit News. The winter storm that is set to hit Michigan beginning tomorrow and through the weekend could potentially bring with it blizzard-like conditions across lower Michigan. This will surely have an impact and highly likely will interrupt or at least delay your travel plans, especially if those involve driving across the state or exiting Michigan in one way or another through your closest airport. It is expected that southeastern Michigan could see between 8 and 17 inches of snow in some counties, as well as wind gusts upwards of 55 miles per hour. That means snow drifts, low visibility, and slick roadway conditions as well. The winter storm is expected to begin Thursday afternoon, with the heaviest snowfall occurring Thursday night and into Friday morning and through the day. Direct from this article relating to airlines and their preparations for a number of delays and cancellations due to the weather, quote, on Tuesday, Southwest Airlines began offering waivers for travelers for flights departing and arriving in the Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Chicago airports now through December 26th. Spirit Airlines also said it would offer a change of flight waiver for travelers scheduled to fly into or out of Detroit Metro Airport on Thursday through Saturday. American Airlines said Tuesday it will waive fees to change flights for passengers scheduled to fly on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday to or from their airport locations in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, and Traverse City. Delta Airlines on Tuesday issued a travel advisory saying that the storm could impact travel to and from Detroit Metropolitan Airport, Gerald R. Ford International Airport, as well as both major airports in Chicago. The airline was offering to waive rebooking fees for flights arriving or departing from Grand Rapids. Quote, at Detroit Metropolitan Wayne County International Airport, we prepare all year for the snow season, said Erica Donnerson, a representative with the Wayne County Airport Authority that oversees Metro Airport. She continued on by saying, right now we're monitoring the forecast. If the winter storm impacts our region as expected, Our airfield operations and maintenance crews will be working around the clock to maintain our runways and taxiways. Donnerson said the airlines decide when to delay or cancel flights or to offer waivers. Quote, anyone traveling this week should see if waivers are available. Also, we always encourage travelers to check their flight status by contacting their airline online, by app, or by telephone before heading to the airport, and closed quote. DTE Energy is also urging Michiganders to prepare themselves for potential power outages due to the high winds. Finally, making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page from Jennifer Chambers at the Detroit News. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office announced that the County Deputy Sheriff's Association and Benevolent Fund is establishing a scholarship program for students enrolled at Oxford High School. The scholarship will be for students to attend Oakland Community College, and kicked off by raising $24,000 by way of sale of Oxford Strong pins. In April, 5 scholarships will be awarded to students at an awards ceremony. For the holiday season, the fund also adopted 12 families and donated over $14,000 through memberships and local business partnerships. Said Sheriff Michael Bouchard at a press conference in Pontiac this week, quote, it is inspiring to see after a tragedy where we have seen the worst of humanity, to watch the rise of the best in humanity that seeks out ways to uplift and support people in these terrible moments. I am proud of our team and all who contributed to this effort to brighten not just the holidays, but the future for a number of families. All those headlines making news today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page, along with links to COVID-19 updates from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. Up next, Michael Greiner joins us from Oakland University for our weekly market talk. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Hey Laker fans, do you know a friend or neighbor that volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield? We would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28, 2023. Go to michiganweek.org for details.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more on our website at CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast, where you'll find more information on all of our partnering stations across the Great Lakes State, including My Michigan TV, and find all of our full programs and each individual interview on demand. CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast for all of that. Joining us now for our weekly market talk on the program is Michael Greiner, Assistant Professor of Management at Oakland University's School of Business Administration. Michael, thanks for being with us again this week.
It's great to be back, Tyler.
Good to have you with us. Still plenty of a lot going on across the U.S. economy and certainly the world economy as well, Michael. And currently what's making quite a big impact in the United States, of course, has been the government's work to combat inflation. And so because of all that, certain economic issues or economic related issues that have maybe fallen to the wayside a little bit here in Michigan and across the union, including Congress working on a deal that will prevent a government shutdown. We've seen situations like this before that have come up, and usually these have been pretty big pieces of news, but kind of sneaking through the news cycle of late. Give us an update on that.
Yeah, ironically, we're in a situation right now where literally the government would run out of money on Friday to keep operating. And that's kind of a big deal considering how much of the U.S. economy is basically managed by the federal government. And actually, as it turned out, they were scheduled to run out of money last Friday, but they passed one of those short extensions of the budget for another week so they could try to resolve this by the end of the year. Now, this is quite controversial, given the fact that, of course, we know the Republicans are going to be taking over the House in the next Congress. So there was a big push among some Republicans to say, wait a minute, let's wait until next year so that we're able to have more power in negotiations. But it appears that the majority of senators did not agree with that. As we know, in the Senate, you need to get at least 60 votes to pass pretty much any kind of legislation. And there was a procedural vote yesterday that passed this legislation forward by a 70 to 25 vote margin. So it appears that there are the votes there to pass this legislation. Now, this legislation is what's called an omnibus bill. And these bills frequently include all kinds of different kinds of legislation, things that you wouldn't expect to see included in a budget bill. And that's certainly the case with this one. For example, this bill includes legislation that aims to address kind of the big issues that came up during the last presidential transition. We all remember what happened on January 6th and how there were certain efforts to kind of take advantage of some of the ambiguities in the law that dates back 135 years to try to kind of mess with the peaceful transition of power from one administration to the other. Well, there's legislation that was negotiated on a bipartisan basis that's included in this that addresses that. There's also legislation in there that bans TikTok on government devices, for example. But really, the biggest piece of this legislation has to do with the budget itself. And the big winner in the budget is going to be a big increase in defense spending. In fact, it's a bigger increase in defense spending than was asked for by the administration. So Republicans feel very good about this because they had frequently pushed for more defense spending. And in fact, in something that's a bit of a departure from the past, there's more spending on defense than there is in domestic programs, which is not typically how this proceeds. And I guess the way that a lot of people are justifying this is, of course, because of the fact that we've got the war going on in Ukraine. The United States is spending an enormous amount of money in Ukraine, and this budget includes extra funding for that. It also includes money to be able to essentially backfill the weapons that we've been sending over to Ukraine. We've been sending a lot of the weapons from our military over to Ukraine. And so what we've done now is included extra funding to be able to buy new weapons to kind of backfill what has been sent over there so that our military maintains its readiness. On the domestic spending front, there are a number of priorities that are addressed. For example, one thing that's nice is that they've made it easier for people to be able to save for retirement a little bit. There was a tax credit that was available to people who were in the lower income level trying to save for their retirement. That was only available, though, if they owed federal taxes. And they've changed that into an actual credit where they can kind of get money advanced to them. And it's advanced to them in the form of an investment directly in an account. So that's a positive. Generally speaking, I think that most people in Congress feel that this is an imperfect deal. Nobody got everything they wanted. But I think that everybody's generally relieved about the fact that there is going to be a continuation of the government. We're not going to see a shutdown anytime soon. Now, one issue that we have talked about in the past that I'm afraid to say is not addressed in this is the whole issue of the lending cap, basically the amounts that the federal government is able to borrow, the borrowing limit. That is not addressed here. And unfortunately, we're going to see efforts potentially next year by some members of Congress to try to play politics with this, which, as we've talked about before, is really something potentially very dangerous to our economy. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we've seen political games be played on both sides of the aisle in the past for a number of issues that have led near
Yes.
or to a government shutdown, especially with everything going on in the economy right now. That government shutdown would have a greater impact, I would believe, than ever before. Joining us on the MegaCast is Michael Greiner, Assistant Professor of Management at Oakland University School of Business Administration. With us on today's program, our weekly market talk with Michael Greiner. And Michael, similarly, from what we've been seeing earlier on in the pandemic, as things started opening back up, the flipping of the housing market going from being more of a buyer's market to a seller's market, and back and forth and back and forth, all of that resulting now in housing prices continuing to experience a drop. And so with that comes fears of the last recession in the US and what was the final precursor for that, which was the housing crisis in 2008. How does this compare, these drops now, to the drops then? Should we be expecting, or could we potentially be expecting, a similar housing crash or near crash as we saw in 08?
Yes, and you're absolutely right, by the way, that this is directly related to efforts to fight inflation, because, of course, as we've talked about before, as the Fed has raised its interest rates, it's made mortgages more expensive for people. And that's where people start to get in trouble and aren't able to make their payments. I can certainly understand, by the way, how people are really worried about a repeat of the 2008 housing crisis. I was actually working as a bankruptcy attorney during that period. And I can tell you, I saw where people were struggling with being unable to keep their homes and the pain that it caused to so many people. And I can see where people be very worried about that. Fortunately, this is actually kind of a bit of a success story, I think, in the government response to that crisis, where there were additional efforts and controls put on the way that mortgages are originated to require people to have a little bit more equity in their homes before they're able to borrow mortgage funds. You see, the big problem that we had back in 2008 was that banks were lending up to the full value of what the house was worth, and maybe even beyond that. I remember during the lead up to that, there being loans for mortgages for 125% of the value of the home. And the problem with that is that they're basically counting on the value of the home continuing to go up. And if that stalls or goes down, then suddenly the equity is not there to be able to pay off the mortgages if there's a default. And that's where they start to run into problems. Well, as it turns out now, there's actually a really big cushion overall between the amount of equity that people have and the amount that they owe on their mortgages. And that equity is really going to be the key in people being able to avoid some kind of crisis like we had last time. And in fact, we saw the impact that it had during the COVID recession, where there were efforts to, for example, delay mortgage payments and that type of thing, or restructure mortgages for people who were out of work as a result of the COVID recession. And in those cases, those were possible because of the fact that people had that amount of equity there, where the banks felt that they were protected, even though they weren't necessarily getting the payments on a regular basis. And so I think there's a general agreement among most economists, myself included, that we're not likely to see another crisis like we saw back in 2008. And that's good news. And hopefully this will help us really make this inflation fighting effort seem more like a bit of a soft landing rather than kind of the serious financial crisis that we had back then.
Another impact of inflation on the economy over the last 6 months to a year has been rising gas prices. Of late, these gas prices have continued to trickle downward, especially here in the state of Michigan. We've seen quite a drop, and we're at about near levels to a year ago, give or take about 10 to 15 cents, depending on where in Michigan you're at over the past couple weeks at the very least. Part of that may be due in part to the U.S. tapping into its strategic petroleum reserve. The Wall Street Journal this week posting an article about the U.S. having scored $4 billion of late on the sale of oil from Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Just how much of that has had an impact on gas prices of late, given inflation?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting story as well, which is that I think there's general agreements that actually the administration tapping the strategic oil reserve that the United States established back over after the Arab oil embargo in the 70s probably had a positive impact on gas prices. You know, we had that big jump up in gas prices as a result of the Russian invasion to Ukraine, and that combined with the bouncing back of our economy from the COVID shutdown really made oil prices go very high. And we all remember the pain that that caused. And there was pretty severe criticism of the administration, actually, on tapping the strategic reserve at that time to release oil and basically push more oil into the market to affect that whole supply and demand dynamic and increase supply so the prices would go down a little bit. Well, as it turns out, when they started pushing out that oil, it was pushed out at a price of about $96 per barrel, which was pretty high. And people expected that it wasn't going to go much below that. Well, as it turns out, as we all know, the price of oil has been going down. And that has to do in large part, frankly, to the issues that China has been dealing with, where they've been demanding less oil than was previously expected, as well as the fact that Europe has moved very quickly to essentially reduce its reliance on Russian oil and to find alternate sources to address this, as well as the fact that there is also some additional production here in the United States. As a result of all that now, the prices of oil have dropped to, I believe around $74 a gallon. Well, that difference of $20 a gallon represents nearly $4 billion in profit. That they're going to be able to refill it at a lower price than the price it was sold at, and thus the big really a profit for the federal government, and something that we all should be thrilled about.
We're joined by Michael Greiner from Oakland University on today's edition of the Megacast. You can learn more about educational opportunities and programs through the School of Business Administration at Oakland University by visiting oakland.edu. Michael, another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Any other stories this week briefly that are making an impact, or something we should be keeping an eye out for over the next couple weeks as we round out 2022?
Yeah, here's kind of an interesting story that I saw come across that is probably going to be of interest to many of our viewers here in Metro Detroit, and that's to do with Stellantis, which of course is the name now that is Chrysler and Jeep. Basically what had happened is that Stellantis was trying to follow in the footsteps of GM, that made a huge investment in China and has been very successful over there. And in fact, Buick vehicles are considered really one of the status symbols in China. And it's part of the reason why GM continued the Buick brand, even when it got rid of some of the other brands back during the financial crisis in the mid 2000s. And as a result of that, there was hope, I think, by Jeep that they'd be able to start to invest in China and make some progress there, because China right now is about the biggest market for auto sales at all. And it's really one of the few growing markets for auto sales in the world. So it's a great opportunity for automakers, and one that I think Stellantis was hoping to take advantage of. Well, part of what they ran into is the problem that GM and VW and many other companies, not just in the auto industry, but for example, Boeing in the aircraft industry, have run into in doing business in China. And that is that China doesn't really respect property rights and intellectual property rights the way we do here in the United States and throughout the Western world. And so what you see happening a lot of the time is that foreign companies like Stellantis, for example, will be forced into these joint partnerships with Chinese companies to do business in China. And that, in fact, happened with Stellantis, where they had a partner for manufacturing Jeeps in China. Well, as it turns out, they were unable to cooperate with their Chinese partner, and so as a result have pulled out of that deal. Well, that leaves them without a way to manufacture vehicles in China. And we've seen now that VW, who's the market leader in China, as well as GM, who's in second place, have seen their market share declining as domestic competitors have been increasing. And many of these domestic competitors, frankly, have been created as a result of these joint venture relationships with these foreign companies. So it just shows really the challenges that American companies and European companies are dealing with as they're trying to do business with China. And really, it shows why there's some basis for the hawkish view that we're seeing in China, in Washington, I mean, in terms of American trade policies with China. And we've discussed that in the past. And I think we can only continue to see now that there's going to be more and more kind of decoupling between the United States economy and the Chinese economy, as we recognize the fact, number one, that China hasn't really always played fair when it comes to its economic policies. And number two, that China is kind of feeling their oats right now. They feel that, oh, we've gotten what we need to from these foreign manufacturers, so we're going to kind of start pushing them out. And I think that what we're seeing going on with Stellantis right now is a harbinger of, unfortunately, things to come.
There will always be more to talk about in the near future with Michael about what's going on in U.S. economy. Still plenty of action and moving parts all across the U.S. and right here in the state of Michigan. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, and a happy holidays to you, to your crew, and all our viewers.
You as well, Michael. We appreciate it. We'll be joined with him again in the new year. Of course, these being our final shows this week of 2022. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, we'll be joined by the business development manager at Detroit Canine Pet Supplies. It's a great time of the year for bringing new pets into the home. A lot of people during this time of the year will add to their family with new four-legged friends, and especially dogs. But there's a lot to consider before and especially right after you bring a new pet into your home. Dante DeSario will join us next from Detroit Canine Pet Supplies on the Megacast.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on the Megacast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch the Megacast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on mymytv.com.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more on our program on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find more information on all of our partnering stations across the Great Lakes state, including our co-flagship, My Michigan TV, and find all of our full episodes and each individual interview on demand as well. civiccentertv.com/megacast is the website to go for that. The holidays are a popular time of the year to bring new pets into your homes, including puppies and dogs. But there's a lot to consider before you bring a new member of your family into the home, especially as you go through the holiday season, get ready for a new year, set your goals into motion. It's important to not put to the wayside acclimating new pets to new environments. Joining us now to talk about some of the ways you can make that transition smooth and safe and effective for your pets is Dante DeSario, digital specialist and business development manager at Detroit Canine Pet Supplies. Dante, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, Tyler, thanks for having us. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have you on. It's an important topic to discuss because the holidays, it's a very popular time of the year to bring puppies or dogs into your home, other pets as well. But like we also saw at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, there are some pitfalls to that too, especially if people aren't properly preparing themselves, their homes, and eventually working and preparing these pets for a smooth transition. So as people are getting ready to maybe bring a puppy or another pet into their home this holiday season, what are some of the first considerations that they should be making?
Well, you know, it is a big decision. And ultimately, to bring a puppy into the house. It's a family decision. It's a big responsibility in regards to one of the things you have to consider is, do we have the time? It takes a family, just like they say, it takes a village to raise something. It definitely takes a village and a family to raise a new puppy. One of the things you want to look at is, depending on the breed we're going to get, the size of our house. Do we have areas outside our house that we're able to walk our dog? Are we able to have the appropriate space for the type of dog that we are looking to get? So all these things come into consideration. And, dogs, when we see a dog, we go to somebody's house and the dog seems like it's a part of the family, which it always is. That takes time. Dogs have to learn their new family, their new space. So yeah, it's a consideration that has many multiple questions that need to be answered by the family, for sure.
And does the holidays complicate that, or better yet, how does the holidays complicate that? Because it is a new environment. There are a lot of people oftentimes in and out of the home this time of the year, and there are a lot of distractions. So for you, I'm seeing this happen on the front lines, or at least talking to a lot of people this time of the year that are making these sorts of transitions. Would you suggest that this is a good time of the year for that, or a time of the year you should really put even more careful consideration into adopting or buying a pet?
Bottom line, it's a horrible time of year to bring in the pet. I mean, January and February would probably be the best. So if you want to do that late little Christmas gift to the kids, I really recommend. There's so much going on. I mean, Tyler, what do you got going on this week and next week? What does every family have going on, right? Schedules are going to be tight. And when it comes to bringing a dog in, they're going to come into that chaos. It's better calmness to bring a dog in to start learning how to potty train, how to adapt to their new environment, all that good stuff. So Detroit Canine Pet Supplies wants everybody to enjoy a pet in their home, but we recommend January and February being the best time possibly to bring a dog into your home.
We're joined by Dante DeSaro on today's edition of the Megacast. He is the digital specialist as well as the business development manager at Detroit Canine Pet Supplies. Joining us on the program, Detroit Canine Pet Supplies. You can find them online, DetroitK-9.com. DetroitK-9.com is their website for more information, and you can also find plenty of information on the products they provide there, different departments, get in contact with them, all that information on their website right there for you. You can also call them 313-397-1097, 313-397-1097 for more information and consultation. So Dante, for those that are already planning or have brought a new pet into their home, especially we'll continue to focus mostly on dogs and puppies. What are some of the products that are available through your store or other local pet stores that people should really be considering to bring home along with these new pets?
Well, potty training is number one. Just as humans, we have to learn how to transition from diapers to the bathroom. Dogs have to learn the same thing. So obviously, kennel training is the number one thing you can do. Kennel training is important because it gives the dog that space and gives that dog that comfort, knowing that is its comfort space. I recommend kennel training to everybody. It's not a bad thing because dogs in the wild used to have their caves and their dens, which was their place of sanctuary. So when it comes to kennel training or giving your dog a space, with puppies, we recommend you give them a space. Give them their space. And it all depends on the breed of dog when it comes to potty training. It can take up to 4 to 6 months to properly train a dog to know that it has to go outside. Depending on the size of the dog, your smaller breeds have smaller bladders. They're going to have to go out more and more repetition. Dogs crave routine and repetition. That is the main way to train your dog. But also, never lose your patience because they are trying to learn something new. And as much as we are going to be hectic trying to learn potty training pads are great. You can teach them to go on the pads and transition them outside. So this is an essential for potty training.
Monday to Saturday hours at Detroit Canine Pet Supplies, 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. Sunday hours, 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. You can find more information on their website, DetroitK-9.com, with locations in several different areas in the city of Detroit. Find more information on the website. Again, DetroitK-9.com. or call them 313-397-1097 for information on products and more. We're joined by Dante DeSaro on today's edition of the Megacast, Business Development Manager and Digital Specialist at Detroit Canine Pet Supplies. And another consideration this time of the year, if you're bringing a new pet into the home, especially a dog, are the weather conditions. What do you suggest in terms of different considerations people should be making for their dogs, especially if they're in a new environment this winter season, or other products people should maybe be considering to protect their dogs from the winter elements?
We have a storm brewing up as we speak, and it's important, most importantly, to keep your dog's paw pads clean from salt and any debris. Dogs cannot regulate temperature. They do not have sweat glands. So their paw pads are their mini radiators that keep them warm and cold. So we recommend something like this after walks outside. We have different sizes. No, this is not a big gulp. This is actually a mug that you can wash your dog's paws in by just filling it up with hot water. It's got the bristles in there. You can come in, you can keep this in the car, keep this in the house. All you do is put their paw in there, a couple times in there, nice and scrubbed, good and clean. You also want to keep them around the house. You want to use paw safe salt products that we have at all 5 of our locations. So it's important that they don't stay out in sub-zero temperatures. Anytime it drops below 32 degrees, make sure they're out there to do their business, come back in the home, and you'll have a safer and happier pet for sure.
If people are considering, Dante, getting a pet this holiday season, or following your advice from earlier and waiting until a little bit after the holiday season as the dust settles from Christmas and the New Year to bring a new pet into their home, they're trying to consider if it's a good idea, what kind of pet they should be bringing into their home. How can talking to a professional at their local pet supply store, including Detroit Canine Pet Supplies, be a helpful step to take before you're making that final decision?
You know, it's good to talk to any of our representatives at our 5 locations, because we're going to ask you the tough questions. Hey, what's your schedule like? Do you work morning shift, late shift? Can both you and your spouse take care of that pet? Hey, are the kids going to be involved, or is it all going to fall back on you and mom or dad? So it's important to know what you're getting into, because you are taking the responsibility of bringing a pet on board that's going to need, like I said, 6-8 months, maybe even a year of getting used to the home. But I'm telling you, when it comes to stress, when it comes to relaxation, dogs and cats give us that serenity we need every once in a while to break down. But remember, it's a big responsibility. We are here to help everybody out there that's considering a new pet, and it doesn't hurt to come by any of our 5 locations and check us out at DetroitCanine.com to look at anything else you need to know about bringing a pet into your home for the next year.
As Dante said, DetroitK-9.com is their website to find more information. You can also just search in your search engine of choice, Detroit Canine Pet Supplies, Detroit, for more information. Dante, before we let you go, anything else that we should be considering this holiday season, or as we get into the new year, for people that are bringing new pets into their homes or already have pets in their home and want to make sure it's a smooth transition into the new year for them as well?
Hey, get to know your pet, get to know what makes them comfortable and uncomfortable. You're going to have a lot of guests coming over. You just make sure they're in a good place for company. And also, too, it is the holiday season, and we're always supporting the local nonprofits that help dogs and cats out there. If you're looking to donate, look in your local area, see what rescues are making a difference. And if you can, make a donation to any of those rescues, because it's all about love out there. And want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. And Tyler, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Dante, and happy holiday season to you as well as your team at Detroit Canine Pet Supplies as well.
Thank you.
DetroitK-9.com for more information. You can find more information, DetroitK-9.com, including info on all of their locations in Detroit, their hours, their phone numbers, and more. All that, DetroitK-9.com. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, it's been a tumultuous 2022 in the political realm here in the state of Michigan and across the U.S. We'll take a look back and review some of the key moments of 2022 and look forward to a very important year with transitions coming almost immediately after the year strikes midnight on January 1st in 2023 with Dave Dulio from Oakland University and their Center for Civic Engagement. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
My Michigan TV is streaming everywhere on Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and more smart TV apps. My Michigan TV is on your phone too. Take us with you wherever you go. Just search for My Michigan TV on your favorite app store or visit mymitv.com. All Michigan, streaming everywhere. My Michigan TV.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Keefe. Of course, you can learn more information about all of our partnering stations and find us on demand on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now on the program to talk about everything happening in the political world here in the state of Michigan and around the U.S. is Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University, where he also serves as the director of their Center for Civic Engagement. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Good to see you, Tyler.
Yeah, good to see you as well. We're wrapping up the 2022 calendar year, and it's been quite the interesting and very important year for politics here in the state of Michigan and around the U.S. What are some of your key takeaways, both in Michigan and nationally, in politics from 2022, and what sort of impacts could they have in the future of politics, not just in 2023, but beyond?
Sure. Well, I think at the top of the list has got to be the Supreme Court decision in the Dobbs case that overturned Roe versus Wade. You know, that shook the political ground in Michigan, in Washington, and frankly, from coast to coast across the country. That's got to be the top sort of result, if you will, or top dynamic of the year. I think second is got to be the failure of Republicans to take advantage of a very favorable electoral environment in the midterms. Part of the reason that they weren't able to take advantage was that Dobbs decision, right? And Democrats made those issues central to their fight against Republicans. But there were still some other reasons that Republicans dropped the ball, and I think gave away a generational opportunity to make historic gains in at the federal level and even at the state level. And I would say third, you've got, let's go back closer to home here in Michigan. The redistricting that occurred in 21 was applied in 22. So I would add that here. And then the reelection of Governor Whitmer and Democrats flipping the state House and state Senate. Big impact that will certainly be felt into next year.
You talk about the Democrats here in the state of Michigan flipping the House and the Senate, now controlling both the legislature and the executive office, with Governor Whitmer also being reelected in the 2022 midterm elections. There's plenty to be on the watch for in the state of Michigan in 2023, especially because of the changing of the guard of power in Lansing. What should Michiganders really be focusing on or looking out for going into 2023 and maybe be expecting from this new leadership at the top levels of the state government here in Michigan next year?
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to watch how Democrats with unified party government, right now they have all three levers of power, four if you count the Supreme Court, right, with a majority of Democratic aligned justices. But what do Democrats do with this newfound power? Do they come out of the gates in January with their foot on the gas and pedal to the metal, or is it a slower approach where maybe we look to the to the governor's State of the State address to see what those priorities are going to be. I think you're likely to see some things move pretty quick, but also not step on the toes of the governor, who's going to want to make that State of the State address a highlight of the year for her administration, and really use her. It's fair to call it an overwhelming victory against Tudor Dixon in terms of how she campaigned and the more than 10-point margin in the outcome. So I think that she's certainly in a position of strength, and I think she's going to want to keep that going. It'll also be really interesting to see maybe more into 23 if the continued scuttlebutt about her being a potential presidential candidate continues. She has said very firmly, right, as you know, that she's not looking to do that. But as you also know, Tyler, never say never in politics, and 2024 is it's right around the corner.
Yeah, the big thing to be keeping an eye out for in the Democratic Party in 2023, I believe, is going to be what decisions are made with Joe Biden and whether or not he'll run for re-election in 2024. And beyond that, then what happens with Kamala Harris should Joe Biden decide not to run? Is she the presumptive candidate, or are the Democrats looking for that next home run kind of candidate, which indications are showing Governor Whitmer is on that short list, a big story to follow in 2023. Dave, this week also big news on the federal level. The U.S. House Select Committee on investigating January 6th, the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, voted unanimously on Monday this week to recommend the Justice Department pursue criminal charges against former President Donald Trump in relation to the incident on January 6th, 2021, as the Electoral College was being certified by both chambers of Congress, as well as famously participation from, as usual, by Vice President Mike Pence at the time. How may this affect his chances of reclaiming power in the Republican Party in 2023, or really where could this potentially be going, given that in the federal politics, the House is being flipped to Republican majority in 2023?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have much of an impact. I think, and politically anyway, right? I think the biggest impact is for him personally if charges are pursued, and I'm not convinced that we're going to see that. I think that this opens up the Justice Department to take even more criticism about being a partisan organization, and I think you're seeing that now with the information that's coming out of Twitter and the FBI and what they appear to have been in consultation with Twitter about during 2020 and the Biden laptop story. I think so. I'm not convinced that the DOJ is going to move forward with criminal charges. I mean, they certainly could, but I don't think it's a slam dunk. Let's put it that way. And I think the political dynamics are already in motion, that this will only harden those movements, right? Trump's base is not going to leave him. That I think is we've seen that over time, right? There will be a solid block of Republicans who just are unwilling to move from Trump if he continues in 2024. Now, there are many other Republicans who are looking to for an alternative, right? And I think that polling seems to indicate they found that in Ron DeSantis. So I think you might continue to see that split of Republicans, and this may just move a few more of those folks away from Trump, but I think he's going to have his backers in his corner.
Yeah, big question going into 2023 for the Republican Party is, where does that shift happen as we're getting into the thick of primary season, and as Candidates continue to vie for position, and others rise to some prominence and power in the Republican Party. Do they make that split from Donald Trump to a similar candidate, to a completely different candidate? And how does that impact their chances in 2024? We're joined by Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University, where he also serves as the director of the Center for Civic Engagement. You can find more information throughout the year on programs, discussions, and more from the Center for Civic Engagement on their website, oakland.edu/CCE. That's oakland.edu/CCE to learn more about the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. It's an important year, as every year seems to be nowadays, more and more in politics. Anything currently that you can discuss about plans for 2023, discussions or other programs at the Center for Civic Engagement?
Yeah, nothing concrete. We're ready to let out of the bag right now, but you'll see from us a number of opportunities to engage on issues that are wide-ranging and really all over the map for us, that are important for us here in Michigan and beyond. I think there are things that are bubbling in the headlines. I think that you can count on us tackling, and even more than that.
You can find more information, oakland.edu/CCE, for programs and discussions through the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. Dave, another couple minutes before we'll need to say goodbye today. Anything else we should be keeping an eye out for as we go into 2023 on the political realm?
We were talking about the primary season, right? The presidential primary season. A year from now, Tyler, we're going to be talking maybe on the same day at the same time about an upcoming presidential primary in Michigan. It appears that Michigan is going to move further up into the calendar, which is going to give Michigan a really big say in who becomes the nominee, certainly in the Republican Party. And if there is a contested primary on the Democratic side there too, so it'll be really interesting to watch how Michigan positions itself, and if in fact the placement of the primary is where it appears to be going, right? And there's a battle brewing and being played out, as we speak, I guess, in some corners of the Democratic Party about the jockeying of states and where they're going to go and who's going to go first. But Michigan appears to be poised to move up. So we're going to have a real big impact, more so than in the last couple of cycles. And I think that's a good thing for the state. That's important. And I think it's going to give us a lot to talk about moving forward.
Yeah, Michigan, a very important state for both parties as it continues to be shifting over the last couple of elections, more Democratic, but certainly is very purple across the board still at this time. Dave, thank you so much as always for joining us.
Yeah, Tyler, have a great holiday, and see you in the new year.
You as well. Appreciate all your help this year and always for joining us, and hope you have a happy holiday as well, Dave. Dave Dulio from Oakland University's Center for Civic Engagement with us on today's edition of the Megacast. Again, you can always find more information and ways to get involved at the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University on their website, oakland.edu/CCE. That will do it for today's edition of the Megacast. As always, I want to give a big thank you to you for joining in on today's program, whether it be live or live to tape. You can always find us Monday through Friday on our regular weeks from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and find us on demand on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Huge thank you as well to all of our guests on today's program, as well as our crew at the studio of My Michigan TV, Jared Clark running the show today at Master Control, and making this program possible each and every day this week. Of course, again, find all of our programs as well as today's episode and interviews on demand, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That does it for this edition of the Megacast. We'll return soon with a new episode.
This is My Michigan TV.